Um, okay, today we're going to talk about Google Cloud Storage. So
Yeah,
let me share my
just
screen.
just a moment, please. I've started the
Yeah,
recording. Can we all see it?
yeah, it's
Oh,
notified
okay.
me,
Yeah, nice. Thank you.
but I can't share my screen yet.
Oh, okay. Just a moment, please. So you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay, share.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, so today we are still continuing into our journey to GCP, and we are going to look into cloud. Oh, sorry. Why is it glitching? Okay, we're going to look at cloud storage, and the scope of this presentation will be like a brief introduction to cloud storage, and also walk through the process of creating a storage bucket, and then we have to now go into the demo and then take some questions. So what is cloud storage? Cloud storage is usually called GCS, and it's just equivalent to S3 in AWS. So it's usually used for storing data in Google Cloud, especially unstructured data like videos, images, and documents, right? So like I said, it's just like AWS S3 buckets, so if you want to use it for storing, let's say like a case study, let's say you have like a website, let's say for instance, this INEC, whatever, that's the INEC website, right? Say you want to use GCP now to store data. You could use GCP to store those headshot profile, like when you are creating an account with registering for that voters, whatever, you have to like take a snapshot, like you could store that snapshot in GCS. And also all those voters result that we are uploading, that could be uploaded to GCS as well, right? So in a bucket, in cloud storage, everything is stored in a bucket, right? So a bucket is like a container that stores everything. It organizes objects inside it, and objects are the individual pieces of data inside the bucket. Say for instance, this image here can depict a bucket. And then this rectangle, triangle, and circle in there are the objects. So you can't store a data in GCS without creating a bucket first, right? So when you want to create a bucket, there are some basic information that you need to have, and the options and decisions you need to choose from, right? So it starts from the bucket name, the location, the class, the access control, and the protection tool. So we're going to go into these one by one right now. So the first one is bucket name. So bucket name is globally unique. Like there can't be two buckets in the world with the same name. So, and there are actually some guidelines to that about it. And then they are also immutable. Like you can't, once you create a bucket, you can't change the name, right? So you have to be thoughtful in creating a bucket name that suits you. Most of the time, people use their project ID depending on what you're working on, or you could add a particular prefix. And if you are using, like, if you are creating a bucket programmatically, you could use UUID to add some random numbers on it that can make it unique so that it doesn't fail, right? We will experiment that when we are doing the demo. And then locations, you have to also choose a location. Where do you want this data to be created? I mean, where do you want this data to be stored? So you have to consider where your users are. Say, for instance, your users are in Nigeria. You could choose a a location that is closer to Nigeria. So Europe is closer to Nigeria than US, or I think there is now a data center in Africa, in South Africa. You could choose that one. That will make it easier for your users to access it. And then also you have to also consider the redundancy. What I mean by redundancy here is, do you want your data to be stored only in one location, or do you want the data to be replicated in another location, maybe multi-region? You want to be in Africa and in the US, or do you want it just only in Africa, or have to make those decisions, right? And also the expected time. So if there is no caching, right, what the time it will take for one byte of data to load. So you have to put all these things into consideration before you choose a particular location to store your data, right? Okay, I've done them. I'm not going backwards. Okay, so there are 3 different storage locations, like I already mentioned indirectly. There is the regional, there is a dual regional, and then there is multi-region. It all depends on what you want to use it for. Region is a particular location like London, so you want to store it in this particular region, right? And it is optimized for latency and network bandwidth, right? And then for dual locations, like I said, say you want in London and Paris, just like that. And then also multi-region, you want to take advantage of the redundant. Okay, for this dual, your data will be replicated in these 2 regions, London, say for instance, and London here and Paris, right? And then you take advantage of the duplication of and redundancy of data in this region. So if, for instance, one data center is down, the data in Paris can still be available. Let's say London is down, Paris will be available. So it's just helps in a case where there is any kind of failure. And then multi-region is when the data is duplicated in different, in more than 2 regions, like the whole of Europe or something, right? And then it's mostly if say for instance, you have an application that is used across the globe worldwide. So you could use this particular one so that the people in a particular region can just get data from the one that's closest to them. All right, so after choosing location, you now have to choose the storage class. There are 4 storage classes in GCP. There is standard, nearline, code line, and archival. So I'm going to go through this in the next slide, but they all offer the same, they offer low latency and high availability, right? And these storage classes can be changed, unlike the storage name and the storage location that once you have chosen it, you can't change it. Storage class, you can actually change it. And once, if you don't choose a location, it will automatically choose the standard one for you. So, like I said, there are 4 storage classes. The standard is used for storing data that is frequently accessed, data that you want to use every other time for short-term storage, right? It is usually called for hot data, right? So it's used for frequently accessed data. Then nearline is a storage class that you use to store data that you can maybe access or modify once a month or less. So like 30 days, right? Once in 30 days. And it's best for backup data that you want to access once a month. And then code line is best for data that you want to access once in a quarter, right? So you can use it for disaster recovery, for data that is accessed once a quarter. And then archival is for data you want to access maybe once a year or less. So it's usually used for backups and disaster recovery. But the thing is, this data that you can store for a longer time, say for instance, archival data, although to store the data there is quite low, but you pay to retrieve the data. Even though it's highly available, you can access it whenever you want to, but the retrieval cost is higher, right? So archival has the highest retrieval cost, followed by code line, nearline, and then standard. All right. Sorry, I don't know. I keep going. Okay, so after you've chosen the location, yeah, sorry, is there a question?
Sorry, if I may ask, is there a reason why for the archival, why the cost is higher? Why the sequence is that way?
The data is being stored. Okay, the cost to store the data is the lowest, right? Unlike standard, that is always assessed. Archival, you are charged the lowest for keeping your data in archival, but then to retrieve it, that's when you pay. Like, it's not like it's quite much, depending on the amount of data you're storing. That's where you pay higher for that one.
Oh, okay, I get it now. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So after doing that, you now have to choose the access control for object. So there are actually two. There are two controls you could make there. There is prevention to prevent public access, and then access control. Sorry, I just have to take a sip of water. So for this option to prevent public access, it's used for preventing like your data from being accessed over the internet. It is not exposed to the public over the internet, right? And then but this, if you are going to turn on this particular feature, it will prevent buckets from being you can't use it for web hosting, because it will require IP address, HTTP, trying to like get access to that. And then there is also access control, another option. Then in this access control, there are two options, right? If you want uniform access or you want fine-grained access. So to explain this particular concept better, let me go back to this particular image now. So in the uniform access, you're using IAM to give control over that data. So you are giving control for this whole bucket and whatever it is that is inside. You're giving, if you give uniform access, you have, okay, say for instance now, I give Mr. A access to this bucket. It has access to everything inside here, the same uniform access for everything. But if you're using fine-grained access, it is object-based. So I can give Mr. A access to this circle, but it does not have access to this triangle, although they're in the same bucket. So that's just the difference between the two. Sorry. I don't know. Okay, thank you. That's corrected now. All right, so that's just for this one. And then protection tools is another option you have to choose. So in this particular option, there are two decisions you have to make if you are using object versioning or retention policy. So object versioning is just basically for sorry, I was just having some cough. Okay, object versioning is like GCP would retain a version of every change you make to your object. So for instance, let me just take for instance now, these slides that I have here. If I go in now and maybe delete a slide, right, it would keep a record of all the changes that I've made. But then you have to like set how many versions you want it to retain. You want it to retain every change in that particular object every time it is deleted, or do you want maybe the last 5 changes for it to retain it, because the more it is retaining changes, the costlier it is for you, because it's retaining different versions. And then retention policy is mostly, okay, this object version is best for data recovery. Say for instance, take that slide and I want, like, tomorrow, and I'm like, oh, that slide is actually very important, I need it. I can go back and go to the history. I'll be like, okay, let me choose this particular one, I need it. But for retention policy, is for you not to be able to delete a bucket for a particular period of time. So no matter what happens, you can't delete that bucket. It is basically used for compliance. All right, so let's go to the demo. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, so let me go to the demo. I need to stop sharing my screen and share the screen to my, because this slide I'm using, I just shared a particular, so, okay. All right, so we are here in the Google Cloud Console. To create a bucket, you come here to cloud storage to create a bucket. So you just click on create a bucket. And actually, there are different ways you can create these buckets. You could use the Cloud Console. You could use command line using gcloud storage or gsctl. You could use Terraform. You could use APIs, using API calls. And then you can also use Terraform to create this bucket. So like I mentioned about the bucket name has to be globally unique, right? So if I use, let me check if my demo bucket is available. Okay, I put 0 in the demo, maybe that's why it's available. So the bucket name is available, click, because if it is not, it will tell you the bucket name is unavailable. Okay, so this is the location, multi-region, dual region, and regional. So you want to choose regional. And you can see the price changes. All right, so let's choose in US is one, the default one. And then here, the storage class, how do you want to store your data? Standard. If you choose this auto class, Google will automatically detect how fast you are selecting how often or how frequently you access your data, and automatically place your data in that aspect. So for instance, if you create a bucket and you are only accessing it maybe once in 3 months, it will automatically place it in code line. And if you are frequently accessing it, said okay, it's in standard. But if you don't choose anything at all, like if I just click, by default is on standard, right? So click on continue. And then this is the object protection. Do you want versioning or do you want retention? So let me choose none of them. And then click create. Okay, it's asking me if I want to enforce public, yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay, so we have created our bucket. So in here now, I can create like a folder. I can create a folder like normal file folders, or you can basically like upload a file directly to it. So to upload a file, you could just click on upload files. And then let me just go to upload an image. What happened? He didn't upload it. All right, it's actually uploaded the first one. Okay, so this is the objects that I just uploaded now, or you could just create a folder. What do I want to call this folder? And just call it pictures. So inside this folder, you could have multiple, just like normal, you could have multiple folders, and that's just about it. Is there any questions? Any questions?
Okay, let me just ask, for what you mentioned auto class, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you select auto class, okay,
Mm-hmm.
does it like, okay, let's say for instance, you don't like frequently access your data, you know, at a point, then later on, maybe at a particular time, you access it frequently. Does it like also, does it move as in swap by itself automatically? Is that what it does?
Yes. So if you haven't like accessed the data for a month and it moves it to nearline, and then all of a sudden you start accessing it like every time, it will move it to standard. And say maybe you didn't access it for like a month again, you move it to nearline, you didn't access it to like 3 months, just like that, it automatically detects the activity in that bucket and then move it to the right, to the suitable bucket for that. Location class, sorry, class for that. Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like, do you actually recommend that auto class, since does it, like from experience, does it actually give the least cost since it automatically, does it really work that way, or you just like, the other what I'm trying to say?
It's just
Like,
based on your use case, because in my own use case, most of the time we know exactly what we want to use it
okay,
for. I have actually not used the auto one before. We know exactly what we want to and why we are using it, and then we choose it.
okay,
Right. Yeah.
all right.
Okay. All right. So Shego, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ama, for the class. It was insightful. And I don't know, Amara, can you quickly just tell us or give us a brief about some certification in GCP? Is that possible?
Oh yeah, there are actually different certifications in GCP. To get started, you could start with what's the name of that certification? The lowest. Let me quickly like get the name. Sorry, I did the wrong link. All right, okay, the name is Cloud Digital Leader. So it is the least certification it just basically for foundational. I think it's equivalent to practitioner in AWS. right? And then there's also, that one is just very, very basic and the fundamental. And then there's associate cloud engineer. That one you have to have like a lot of technical knowledge, like to understand, to have like fundamental understanding of Google Cloud, and then have experience deploying applications and monitoring operations. So you should have some of this practical knowledge, and also have like some experience managing enterprise solutions, right? And then there's also professional certifications. These are kind of domain specific. There is cloud architect, professional cloud architect, professional database engineer, professional cloud developer, data engineer, DevOps engineer, security engineer, network engineer, and workspace engineer, and machine learning engineer. So all of these certifications are domain specific, and you should have you should have worked with GCP extensively to get to understand how these things work and be able to write the certificate. Although some people still like take the theories and go take the certifications, that doesn't mean you will not pass. But Google recommends that you must have like done some work in that space using those products, right, before you write the exams. Right. Me personally, I have like 3 with GCP. I have the Associate Cloud Engineer certification. I have the Professional Data Engineer certification and the Professional Database Engineer certification. I think I got the associates as of 2021. That was in May 2021. And then the Data Engineer certification, I got that in 2022, January. And then the database engineer certification, I got that in, I think that was in, I think either October or November 2022, last year. Yeah. So this certifications kind of helps to, it just like tells people that, oh, you worked with these tools and you can do so in using Google Cloud, right? And it helps to boost your CV as well. Because some jobs, they will always say that a certification, let's say for instance, you're applying for a architect role in a company, and they're like, okay, they want to use Google Cloud. They always say that, most of the time, not say always, sometimes they say a professional cloud data engineer certification will be an advantage. Doesn't mean that if you don't have it, you won't get the job, but they might have some advantage of having a certification. Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you, Amara. So now I will tell us my own view about certifications. So maybe we can start with that, then we can just talk about certifications in other clouds too. So certification to me is the best way in learning a tool. Take for example, you want to learn about AWS, just an example. Taking a certification in it will expose you to what is AWS and the knowledge. You have to gain an in-depth knowledge about it. That doesn't mean once you get the certification, then you are very good and prepared to have all the skills to work in that line. No. So it's more like you going to school. Let's say, for example, those that are in engineering, you learn about the theory, you understand the theory part. But when it comes to the practical part, you might not understand, you might still need assistance. But then the theoretical part will expose you to what they are doing. You have understanding of what they are doing, even though you don't know how they get it, but then you understand what they are doing and the process in which they get there. So for those of us that are in engineering, let's say for example in mechanical engineering, we might not know the full details about a machine. We might have the theory, but when you now get used to the practical, there are many things you can't do on your own. Be asking questions. Oh, later when they say, okay, this is the shaft, this is okay, oh, this is the shaft I did in class. That's exactly the same way certification looks like. So the certification will more like expose you to the theoretical knowledge. You get to know more about it. Then after then, when you now start working with it, that's what you get the experience, the hands-on experience. So having a certification, yes, is a very good thing. However, you still need what? The experience. So people will ask me, like people that have not worked and they are like, you must have this experience. Then how do you get the experience? You get experience by doing. And what do? You work on projects. So that will lead me to what I want to talk about, another view about certifications. So you start working on, because I see many people, they will just be like, I want to have certification. They will do all the certification in AWS. They have all the certification. They have the knowledge. Now, when you want to now do the hands-on, they don't, have the experience because they have not worked on projects. And one thing I will always advise people is when you want to go into the cloud, it's good to take certification in the cloud platforms. But beyond that, it's very good to take certifications in the tools that are used in the cloud. Like I once have a conversation with someone, the person is like, I'm a professional DevOps engineer. Why? Because he did AWS DevOps engineer certification. So to him, he believed that he understood everything about DevOps. But that's a big deception. Because when it comes to there are many tools you use. You talk about Kubernetes, you talk about Docker, you talk about Jenkins, you talk about let's say Go CD. There are different tools you use as a DevOps engineer. But
Can I add to
DevOps,
that?
oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, what you said is actually very, very important because I remember when I took the data engineer certification, right? I didn't have like much knowledge in data engineering tools, right? Although I studied and I did some work, like not extensively, I just did some work in data engineering. But even after I passed the exam, I wasn't confident like to call myself a data engineer because some of these tools, like say for instance, some of the data engineering tools in GCP are, you have Cloud Data Flow, Cloud Composer, Data Proc, and all of that. They are all built on top of already existing tools. Say for instance, Apache Airflow is a data engineering tool, an open source tool, and then Google now built on top of it to make it to manage it, so you don't have to like manage it yourself. So for you to like say, oh, Cloud Composer, you have to know that basic tool, that is Airflow. So you can't jump it. I got to understand when I started working on projects. And how I did it is I took one project at a time. Say, okay, you know what, I'm going to work on Airflow today, I mean this month, and you work on it, and when you are working on it, it opens your mind, it opens your head, you start researching, and you be like, oh, this is how this works. So if you're calling yourself a data engineer, you say with so much confidence, like, yeah, this is what I've done, and you can even like write about it or share it in a, maybe in your upload, I mean post it to GitHub or something. It will give you more confidence to be like, okay, this is who I am, than just taking certification and be like, oh, I'm certified. That doesn't really, and most, I think that's why certification is not really very, very, some companies don't really consider it as much. Again, it's good to have, but they'll be like, okay, have you worked with it? So I agree with you when you said learning the basic tools that that particular domain uses. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amara. So it's very important. Take, for example, I only have AWS fundamental certification. I've not done others. And when I talk with people that have, like, let's say, AWS DevOps professional certification, And when I look at what they did, I told them, this what you are doing is wrong. It shouldn't be like this. I've not done AWS DevOps engineering, but I know everything they are doing. And I even correct what they are working on. Why? Is because I have the understanding of the tools that they are using and they've been built on. Take, for example, Kubernetes, OpenShift. The whole cloud platform you are working on is built on OpenShift or maybe on Kubernetes. And I myself, I built a whole cloud from scratch to end, a whole 34 server cloud. I built like many of them. So I use all the tools. Is it Kubernetes? Is it OpenShift? I go CD Jenkins. So I use all of them together. So and even everything that the cloud is built on, I use it when it comes to the practical. I am always in a data center building the cloud by myself. So I understand what they are talking about or what they are doing. I'll just say, okay, this is this, this is that. So now I just want to take a certification in some aspect. So it's not that I haven't taken certification. I have all the certification in Kubernetes. I have many accreditation with Red Hat. I have certification in Azure. Do you understand? So I'm not like, say you shouldn't take it because I already have it. So you need to also take it also. So, but what I'm just telling you is not about just studying. I just want to pass the certification, then I will now come out and start working. It doesn't work like that. So you have to invest more time. That's why we say we're going to take one tools at a time, understand. So you have to invest more time working on projects. Like most of these certifications, they're objective, they are multiple choice questions. You can just read, just get your way around it. So you can't compare this kind of certification to some certification that are hands-on. Take, for example, Docker. Docker is an hands-on. For you to pass it, you must do the practical one. And for you to do the practical one and pass, then that means you have the work experience. That will show that you have worked on project, you understand everything in it. Even with that, you can go to an interview. Let's say we have a Docker certification and maybe you have Kubernetes certification. You can go to an interview and tell the interviewer what they are doing in their company. They will give you a test to do, and you do it for them, and you even recommend the best way they can do it in their company. Because that kind of certification exposes you to the practical aspects. So I used to recommend to people that they should look forward into those kind of certifications that are hands-on, that are more used like Docker, Kubernetes, Ansible, all those ones. If you have understanding of that and you start working on different cloud platform, like let me give you an example. I was given 2 vouchers to do 2 Azure exam. So when I received the voucher, I just look at it like I don't even have time. I registered for the exam to do both exam in less than a week. I did one on Sunday, I did the next one on Thursday. It's not that I've not been working with Azure. I've not worked with Azure before then. I've not worked with Azure before. I mostly work on private clouds. And more like let's say private cloud, data centers, all those AWS, all those data centers. So that's why. So when I get this, I just get started. Okay, let me just start looking to Azure. What is saving in this Azure? I've not worked with Azure before. I get the certification. I didn't even prepare for it. I went to the exam and I passed the 2. Why? The reason is because everything they are saying, I know what they are saying. For example, I know what is sharing responsibility. I know my responsibility. I know what the responsibility of the customer. I know about my EC2 instance. I know about the virtual machines because I built one myself. I know about networking. So ask me a question about networking. I know what you are trying to say. Is it about storage? I know the type of storage because I work with that in the data center. I work with hardware there. The servers, I know how to go into my server. I know the storage you use. I know how to clean there. So I know what they are saying in it. So what am I trying to say is, and most of these things, not really when I start working that I have the understanding of it. I get it before I started working, and how it was through projects. I will just pick on a project, just take some challenging projects, work on it, a lot of it, put it on my GitHub. I will go for other courses. I will take it. I will go work on the project. I will ask other people, do you have any projects you are working on? Give it to me. Let me help you out. I work on it. Start finding, reading on how to do it. And if you are working into this part, this field, one thing I want to tell you is you are going to read a lot of documentations. So one thing I always tell people is I don't think it's hard in this thing. You don't necessarily have to have them in your head and just be typing as if you're hacking, like the movie used to look like hacking. You just be pressing computer, you have everything library in your head. No, it is always in the documentation. That's why there is documentation. Just you open the documentation, what is it? Okay, this is how they use in the communication. Then start using it like that. How does it work? I have the understanding. You don't know the command, don't bother. You have Google. You have it in the documentary. Just go there, refer. Okay, what is this? How to use it? Okay, this is what I'm looking for. You browse. You do a lot of googling. You do a lot of you read a lot of documentation. You read a lot of question and answer. You watch a lot of video. Oh, okay, this is how this person do. Let me do it like this. Oh, this one doesn't work. Let me open another documentation. You will get used to versions. Oh, okay, this one can only work on version 3.0. It can't work on version 4. Why? How do you know? Due to documentation. So we're having understanding of all the tools. When you have all the tools and you have the basic understanding, you can easily work in and take certification in these platforms. Because take, for example, when you want to start working, let's assume you understand and you want to start working. That's why I tell people, you don't follow a cloud, but follows the fundamentals. You might just say, I want to go to AWS alone. Like I'm talking to a person, I just want to work on AWS. Working for you, when you want to start working, the company is working on Azure. Now it's now stuck. It was like, I want to start learning Azure. So I didn't even know all the tools and many other things that are there. Won't stop himself with that. It will be so easy you can easily just open Azure today and tomorrow they will think you have been using it for like 1 year ago or like a year ago. Like, how do you know this thing? Because you have a basic understanding of all other things. So it's not really let me say, it's not really, how will I put it? It's not really something that is individual. So once you know the tools, you can easily go on any cloud platform and use it and, be good with it. So let me just share. I want to share my screen. So this is for my, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is certification by Azure. So based on the field you want to follow. So let's assume, okay, let's just go to browser certification. So we have like 46 results. So we have the Microsoft 365. We have Microsoft Azure. So don't be surprised when you see Microsoft 365, Microsoft Azure. So if you look at this, these are Microsoft certified Azure Data Scientist Associate. Then you have Microsoft 365. So there are two different things. So you see, you have different certification in the part based on what and where you want to go. So if you should look, let's just go back. If you look at this, it's going to show us different field. If you are into AI, if you are into app making, so let's just say you are an AI engineer, these are some certification you might consider to learn about. Like I said earlier, certification will help you to learn and understand it. So let's say you are a developer. So these are some certifications. So these are some, so you can just come here and filter it. So based on what you want to do. So let's go to AWS certification part. Let's see. So let's see different paths that are available too. So yeah, in AWS, you can see we have the foundational. So this one is for everybody. You don't even have to have prior experience. So I think if as a beginner, you can consider this starting from this, and there are some. Okay, so what I will do is I will send in a website. Let me see if I can get here. I'm not sure if it is. I will need to find it and get back to us. So you can register, especially from Africa, you can get free vouchers. I will find it and get back to us to write the foundational exam. And also for Azure. So you can get that. I will send. So for Azure, what you need to do is to watch the training. Let me check here. If I can get it. The fundamentals. So here, what you just need to do is to go for the virtual training. So once you complete the virtual training, they will give you a free voucher to write the exam. So you just use the same email you used to join the training, use it to register for the exam. So you can start from there and have a foundational examination and see how it goes. So from there, you start, writing another exam, getting the understanding of what the cloud is and how it works. So the same thing happens for AWS. So this is Azure. So let's see. What's wrong with my internet? Let's see. So let's go to Azure. I'm supposed to see the training here. Okay, so what I will do is I will check and send it to us. So there is always frequent training. I will check. I think it's on my other desktop. I will check. I'm not sure about the website. So I will send it to us. So you can join, register for the virtual training. So once you join it, after this, you can get certification. So the same thing for AWS. You can get free certification to do to what? To do the foundational exam. So like I said, so the thing is, so the way I'm going to help us is any certification you want to take, anyone in the cloud computing space, what I will do is, so that will be my own part of sponsorship, in which I will sponsor the materials that we are going to use for this exam. So that's going to be my own area of sponsorship for the exam. So anyone you want to take, make the resources available for you to pass. So let's just go. So we have foundational, this AWS. So this is associate. So you can be solution architect. So these are the one that follows our associate. We have the solution architects. We have this developer associates. We have the system of administrator. So this is what is our prior skill cloud or strong on-premises IT experience recommended. So they recommend this for you to be able to do this. Then we have this professional. So under the professional, we have only the solution architect and DevOps engineer. So this, they say you have 2 years prior AWS cloud. And the person I was talking to you about, I have the DevOps professional, doesn't even have up to 6 months. And you did the exam, you can read and pass. Some people can do that. So, but that doesn't make you, and doesn't even really have that much experience. It doesn't even work with it before just the exam. It's possible for you to write the exam and pass, but like I said, you need what the skills. So then we have the other one, which is specialty. So we have this advanced networking. So this one is on a particular your specialty, this area. You can see this is on networking, this is on data analysis, this is database. We have machine learning, security, we have the SAP. So that's for AWS, like also on Azure. So like Amara, do you have also a website from GCP? Let's check that.
A website like to get to prepare or a list of certifications.
No, just the list of certifications to show, like I showed now. Okay.
Okay, I just close it out. You could just Google Cloud certifications.
Yeah, so I think here you have the foundational level, which Amara talked about. Then we have, let's open this in a new tab. So we have this, okay. Let's check. I don't know why my network is slow today. Okay, I think this is it. So we have the cloud digital leader, just like Kamala said. You don't need any technical prerequisite or anything. So let's open it in. So probably you can do it for free. I'm not sure. But I know Google is always generous. Hello?
Yeah, you went up for a while.
Oh, sorry, I think it's my network. I was asking, like, is it possible to get a certification for this, to get a voucher for this cloud digital leaders?
Not any that I've heard of, but the one I know of is Google partners having some vouchers, but
Oh,
I haven't like dug deep into that.
oh, okay. Okay, maybe probably I'll partner with Google and give us certifications, vouchers rather.
That's possible.
So, like I said, just to go right, so we have the associate certification in which we have the cloud engineer, then we have the professional. So like Amara mentioned, we have the cloud architects, database engineer, cloud developer, and data engineer. So like all this, that's the one we have in Google Cloud. And also remember we talked about the one in Azure. So I will send us the link for the tool so we can claim a voucher to see if possible. And let's see how it goes. I've not checked the chat since I don't know if anybody, if there is any question in the chat. Oh, okay, I'm not seeing
Hello,
any
Shagun.
question. Okay. Oh, sorry, am I not sharing screen before? Am I?
You were not. You were sharing. Yeah, you were sharing your screen. Can you hear me?
Oh, but you can see my screen right now, right?
No.
Oh, I thought I was sharing. Sorry, I thought I was
No,
sharing.
when you went off, that was when we lost
Oh,
that. So as we came back, we
oh,
didn't like see your screen again. But
oh, sorry, I've been sharing, I've been talking about something on my screen before. I don't know. I wasn't sharing. Sorry. So can you see my screen now, right? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So before you ask your question, just give me 2 minutes to just quickly show you what I was saying when I wasn't sharing. Just sorry. So this is what I was saying. Of funding for GCP, the foundational, we have the cloud digital leader. Then the associates, we have the cloud engineer. Then the professional, we have all this one that Amara has mentioned about, and then also Microsoft, we have this Like I will share us the link for the Microsoft one, the one I talked about. But these are the certification. I think I showed you. I think I showed this before my screen went off. Then on AWS, I don't know if I showed this also. I can quickly go over it again. So this is the foundational. Then we have the associate. Under the associates, we have the solution architect, developer, and the system ops administrator. Then the professional. So these are just the requirements. This is what is recommended: prior cloud or strong on-premises IT experience recommended for you to be able to pass this. There you need 2 years of prior experience on cloud, Prior AWS cloud experience is recommended for these two roles. Then for specialty, we have this one that is specialized in nature of the role you are working on. That's for that. So that's AWS. Yeah, so that's what I want to talk
Sorry,
about.
I have a
So,
question.
okay.
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 All right. So you've actually introduced us to different certifications across the three major cloud providers. Okay, so are you recommending that let's say for each of these for any of these cloud providers that we can just go and then get a certification for any of them? Were you recommending that okay, we just uh look at the three of them and maybe try to get some certifications across, like across the three of them? So I really want you to explain on that.
Yeah, so on that, what I will recommend is firstly understanding what is used, what are the tools that are used. So, but it's okay if you start with one and get a certification to understand about the platform and its own tools also. Take for example, on AWS, you have what we call the EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service. So you can spin up your Kubernetes service on AWS. But then having understanding of Kubernetes itself will make you understand the operation of Kubernetes in AWS. So what I do recommend for people is to understand basic Kubernetes before they now go and understand what is EKS in AWS. But it is okay to start your journey by getting certification in what? In one of the cloud. Maybe you start with AWS, have a certification, you have the understanding about it. But what I will recommend is once you start with one and get a certification, then go and start all over with the tools that are being used. Reason is because if you start with AWS and you have like two certification, you have like three certification, they are going like that, you will plateau around AWS. That's people will say like, I just want to work with AWS, I don't like Azure. There was once in that like, I don't like Azure, I don't like GCP. Because I actually like AWS. I started with AWS and I was more with AWS. So if you might just get a job and start working, I might not even use AWS. I've never used AWS since I started working. Do you understand? So what I do recommend is the certification is for you to learn and understand how this works. So if you have the opportunity to have it in all of the platform at the same time, it's okay. If it is one you are starting with, it is okay. But give more time and energy on the tools that are being used. So I don't know if I'm able to answer your question or you still have some concerns. Just let me know.
I think you've answered the question. So, but I want to also ask concerning the tools, like I understand that maybe as you are learning a particular platform, you get to know of a tool, so, but is there a way, do you recommend like, okay, we like do a search on how do you advise we learn the tools? Is it that okay, maybe do a search on the tools,
So,
let's say the tools that we
so
can
in that,
use
there's a
in
roadmap.
AWS. Start. Okay.
Let me see if I have a picture here downloaded. Okay, so let me just a minute. Just a minute. So there's a roadmap for it. So, okay. So let me try and share my screen. So am I share? Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
So now, this is like a roadmap. So looking at this roadmap, this is just like a DevOps roadmap. So the first thing is having understanding of what of programming language. So you see blue, yellow, this. So this is the meaning. Very important and normal. Like it's not really important like that. So if you look at this learning programming language, so the best one that is recommended is Python. So it's not like you're going to be professional in it, but just have an understanding. That's why I was saying like programming is still the first step. So people like I want to skip programming, they are the one that won't be like I want to be in AWS, I want to be a solution architect. I don't want programming. It doesn't work in that way. It's not that you might even start working and not program, you might not code. But having an understanding is very important. So we can see it. The first thing is this. Then server administration, Linux, Windows. But the one you need to know is Linux. You know, I was saying about it like Linux scripting. You understand Linux. So this second way, if you have understanding of Linux, then let's say third now, we are talking about network and security. You understand what is TCP, IP fundamentals, what is DNS, what's HTTP, what's HTTPS, how does it work? Then if you have understanding of that, you can now understand what we call about server. I know Amara was talking about server, I was talking about Apache Airflow in what's it called, GCP. So understanding of servers. So one of these we are talking about, I think we are talking about Apache on Nginx, that's the two most common one. Understand how does this work, what is this? Then when it comes to catching, because that's already this is the most important one. We're talking about database generally, understand what is MongoDB. It's not that you're going to be professional in it, but have understanding about it. What is this thing? What is it used for? How does it work? This is the NoSQL, the non-structured database. This is structured database. Have an understanding of it. Then you now go to the fifth one. We are talking about infrastructure as code. Now, try using this infrastructure another tool. We're talking about Ansible. They are what's called configuration management. They're talking about the infrastructure as well. So we are talking about containers, talking about Dockers, talking about container orchestrator, we're talking about Kubernetes. Now we're talking about Kubernetes and OpenShift. These are what most of the servers are built on. So OpenShift is by Red Hat. Then I talk about infrastructure provision. Amara was talking about Terraform. Terraform is used for all the cloud, but CloudFormation is mainly used on AWS. Azure template is only used on Azure. Then Google Deployment Manager is only used on what? GCP. Then have an understanding about monitoring and logging. Then you understand Grafana, Prometheus, Zabbix, you can understand these ones. Then you now see that cloud is in number 8, like second to the last. So it's even the last. I was even checking. I thought this is 9. You see, this is 7. We know about monitoring. Then you know about logging. Then cloud platform is what? The last one. Then that's when we now start talking about this one is just very important because it's the most used one. So don't be, so these are the three main ones. AWS, Azure, and GCP. So we now see that this cloud is the last one. Now, taking for example, now someone now start the journey from this place. Look at what we have skipped. And they now start journey from here and take certification, a professional DevOps engineer in AWS, and be like, I will now be like a DevOps engineer, I can take any role. They have skipped CI/CD. Oh, sorry, I didn't even mention CI/CD. Sorry, I think I skipped that. Okay, 6. Jenkins, most common, so these are the CI/CD tools. I skip that, sorry. So they skip monitoring, they skip CI/CD, they skip infrastructure as code, they skip servers, they skip this. So they even skip Linux. So you tell them that I'm the cloud architect, I don't do programming, I don't do, but there's no way you work with it without, understand. So that's why I just emphasize on it. I'm able to answer your question.
Yeah, yes, as in very well. But how can we get this resource now you just shared?
Yeah, sure, I can send it to us. That's not an issue. So that's where I'm like, that's what I said, that we are going to start taking one of the resources one after the, or not the tools one after the other, then start doing trainings on it. Then with that, we be convinced. So going into this space is not automatic. It's not just going to do a 3-month training, then you just go out and be professional data engineer and the professional cloud developer. No, it takes time. You work on the tools, we do a project in it, then we are sure we have understanding about it, then work on. The thing is, these tools are interwoven. If you are working on Jenkins, you need Linux. If you are working on this, you need program. If you are working on this, so if you skip one, it will show in another one that you are doing. Rather than to skip one. So when you start with one, like I said, it's not that you be professional, you know everything. No. That's why there is Google, there is documentation. Do you understand? So that's how it is. That so we start with this to talk about it, do project on it, then move on to another to talk about it, do section on it. Do you understand? So that's how we are going to go about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So like, how do you advise practice, right? Should you practice on the cloud or practice on your own system, like using mini for Kubernetes, or should you use like AKS? You get like
How do
people
you
say
mean? How do you mean practice on the cloud?
like practical experience, right? Should like how do you advise people about practicing it? Like let's say you want to practice Kubernetes now, when there is Minikube, right? You can develop Minikube on your system and practice, right? But the environment is not the same as, let's say, you're using like an AKS or GKE, Google Kubernetes engine, right?
So the question, so how we answer, I will use a question to answer your question. So why would you want to use a cloud platform that will charge you when you have one that will not charge you?
Yeah,
So,
the one thing is the environment differs, right? You can't compare how many people work with how EKS or how GKE work,
yeah.
right?
So I understand. So the only difference is when you're talking about Minikube, Vagrant, Docker Desktop, is that they are one server engine. But maybe on any of the cloud platform, you can deploy many nodes, many server, or many blades engine, anyone you call it. Yes. But the thing is, what you do on a single server, which is in SNO, we call it single node. Okay, sorry, that is in OpenShift stand. So what you know as a single node, you can also practice it on multi-node. On your single node is the master and the worker. If you are using a multi-node, then you know that you have different master and different worker. So it's the same thing that you are doing on it that you do on. So to practice, you use your Minikube, Vagrant, or anyone that you have, will be the best in it. When it comes to production, that is when you can use cloud platform, because you'll be like, why are you wasting your money to just do practice when you can do just little practice on a single node that we have? Do you understand? And another way, when it comes to Kubernetes, you can also build your own Kubernetes from scratch. can do Kubernetes the hard way and have many nodes. So that too is possible. Am I able to answer your question?
Yes, I get that. I get that. Thank you.
Okay, do you have any other question?
Yeah, I've been trying to ask since. So, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So, emphasis has been laid on projects and use of tools in the domain one wants to go into. So, as for the project, okay, yes, we've talked extensively about the tools. So, for the project, I heard Amara talking about pushing your work to GitHub. So, how do we get to work on projects, like examples of projects one can go and start working on with the knowledge we have acquired so far, so that at least as we get our hands dirty, we can then, get used to these tools and know which tools we need. So how do we get our hands dirty with projects? So what is the, will I call it, roadmap? Which project should I do first before going to another one? So that's my first question. Then the other question is, yeah, you shared a roadmap for DevOps, and I really liked that roadmap. So I would like if that kind of roadmap can be shared for other domain, because I've seen some things I know in the DevOps, but not so many. So probably if Amara too can as well share a roadmap, for probably a field, maybe this thing can interest one, depending on the prior knowledge we have. Say, for example, I know Python, I know SQL, I know some Linux, I have a little idea of, so like this DevOps now is looking interesting to me, but I believe maybe if I see other roadmaps, right, I can know how well to choose. So that's why I'm saying if we can get other roadmaps as well.
Okay, so Amara, do you want to answer the question?
Sorry, I don't think I was paying. I was paying attention 100%, but I got some part of the question, like the kind of project you could work on, right? And how do you know what to choose? So when you start, like you could Google. For me personally, how I did that, I listened to a lot of data engineers, people that are already in the field, right? I listen to them talk, ask them questions, which tools they use. This information is actually online. You could Google it, you could go on YouTube and check. But what I've noticed is there are different journeys. From two people can be in the same data engineering, but using different tools, right? But then you could just choose the one that interests you for a start, right? And then search about projects on that. What can you do? Okay, most times when I learn, like say I learn this tool, I learn Apache Airflow now. I ask myself, okay, now that I've learned this, and what can I do with it? What problem can I solve with it? What's the use case? What are the problems that companies are facing with this, that are facing, that can be solved with this tool? So when you're thinking about it, you see your creativity and that uniqueness in you in that particular field will pop up. You could, and this creativity comes by you reading, doing research and listening to people that are already there. You could choose one, or there are actually some and then another thing I do is I follow a lot of people that are in that field on LinkedIn and Twitter. They're always talking about it. So they're always sharing resources. They're always talking about, projects you can work on as a data engineer. So once I see it, I click on it. I like, okay, it's okay, this, okay, let me try this, but then let me make it more unique to me. And then you kind of modify it. Once you're interested in something, what I've noticed it is once you become interested in a particular thing, like you're interested in A, somehow you will start getting resources, you will start getting information about that A. I don't know how it happens, but it happens. Once I be like, okay, I want to think about a project on, say, Airflow, and I'm talking about it, I'm thinking about it, I'm researching about it. Before you know it, I will see somebody on LinkedIn that have shared a resource about it. I've seen somebody on Twitter that have shared a resource about it. And maybe I will just go on Medium, because I have a Medium subscription. I can just go on Medium, search about it, and see people that have worked on similar things. And there are actually nothing is completely new. Someone must have worked on something related to that. You can just adjust it, or you could even follow the person's path. There are a lot of blogs out there that people have written. Me personally, I write blogs. I write about the project I've worked on, and I post it. A lot of people are doing that. So I can just go on Medium, search about that product. There are a lot of people that have written about that. I could just pick one and follow it. Once I'm done, I'll be like, okay, let me now do my own. What can I do with this? So once you're interested in something, there is always a way out around it. And then if you feel like you're stuck, you should have somebody in your circle, in your network, that you can reach out to. Like, say, for instance, you are interested in DevOps, but you don't know what project you can work on. Maybe you have done some research, you have done some Googling, but you are not yet convinced of what you could do, and there's nobody you could just go on LinkedIn and send somebody a message. If one person does not answer, another person will answer. Like, I've had experiences where I messaged somebody and the person ended up mentoring me, right? So it's about you and your hunger. That's how I say. Once you're hungry about something, that food I go chop down. That's the truth. Yeah. So I think I've answered your question on that.
Yeah, I like that last line. Thank you.
Yeah, so Amara, I really like that answer. And one part I really like most is that area of solving problem. So if you have the mind that I want to solve problem, the solution will come to you. It's just natural. So if you like, I want to solve this problem, and you keep thinking about it, and you just coming, the solution will just be coming to you. Problem attracts solutions, but the problem is people don't want to get involved in the problem. So that's why they don't attract the solution. So it's just a natural rule. Like the problem if you want to solve a problem, the solution will just be coming to you. And the people that have the solution will be coming to you. And because there are many people that have reached out to me on LinkedIn, just like what Tamara said, and I've mentored them. And we keep on working on projects together. Say, okay, let's work on this. So once you have the hunger, like I want to do this, I don't even know, maybe this internet listening to our mind. You might just be saying it in your mind, I want to work on this, and start thinking about it. And the next thing you go on is go to your maybe LinkedIn or Twitter, just see people in the same circle. LinkedIn is suggesting them for you. You see, I have not even used online. Maybe you can say maybe it's catching your catchy or something like that. It's just what is it called? It's just your mind picking out. Do you understand? So that's a good answer. Thank you. Yeah, someone's raising, and can you ask a question?
Hi, check. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. It's clear now.
Okay, yeah, it's an insightful community per se. I have some experience with cloud, and with most of the things you and Amara suggested are things I'm already doing. Working on projects, checking stuff online, trying to solve problems. But that directly doesn't translate to working on a real life project where things are at stake. So at this point, I want to work on a real life project. So I don't know if it's possible for me to even volunteer to work with you or maybe with our Amara, on any project you're working on. I just want to be of value and have a taste of how it is when you're working on real life projects. Thank you.
Okay. Amara, do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so what I would say is yes, it's possible. That's very much possible. So that's what we call or talk about when it comes to collaboration. Of course, getting real life experience is different from just working on. So working on projects is more like you are in development stage. Working on real life is more like you are in production stage. Yes, that is possible. We have different projects that I'm working on. I think Kamala is working on, which is also helpful. So another thing is you have at every stage, there's let me use this Newton third law. For every action, there's a reaction. So at every stage, there is like expectation. So what I will say is, even at this stage, you have understand some tools, learn some projects. Then what I would recommend is put yourself out. So start putting yourself out a lot. I understand that in Nigeria, there are not much, DevOps role, cloud developer, much opportunity in the clouds. I understand that, especially in Nigeria. Let me use that as an example. So the one we have is more like software developer. We have a lot of front end, UI, UX designer. We have backend too, but not as much as front end and UI, UX designer. I don't understand. We have a lot of data scientists, even those that are using just Excel too. So I understand that. So, but
That's good.
then, okay, I'm sorry for being rude, but the way people will just take it like you understand Excel, I'm a data scientist, then that means everybody should understand data scientist. I mean, data science rather, because we all use Excel. Yeah, so okay, that's another story of the day anyway. So, but what I'm saying is there are a lot of opportunities internationally. Like, take for example, I like many months ago, I removed ready to work on my LinkedIn, and almost every day, I'll still receive message from recruiters, from people like, you want to work with? I'll be like, I don't even reply again. Almost every day, I do receive message. I change my LinkedIn connection that no, the recruiter should not send me message. They still use an email message and send me message like this opportunity is available, this one is available. Like, okay, I don't really respond to some because even what I'm doing is very overwhelming. So what I'm just saying in that area, what I want to bring out is just bring your sorry, bring yourself out. Start applying, start recommending to company that, do you mind if I work with you? Stuff like that. So just bring yourself out and you will have a lot of possibilities all around. I don't know if I might have a contribution to that.
Yeah. So what I would say is, although there is a difference between dev and prod, right?
Mhm.
But the difference, it could be much, but it all depends on perspective, right?
And work you are working on, yeah.
Yeah, all you're working on, it could actually translate to maybe just say, okay, this is dev, this is you working on development. The difference is not as much once you understand the basics. So when you go to production, it's easier for you to troubleshoot when anything happens. And then with the whole CI/CD being implemented right now, it will be it won't be as complicated as it would be if you didn't do anything at all. Right. Basically right now I don't have any project that I'm not working on anything that will require some kind of collaboration. If I have that, I would let you know. But you could actually reach out to people, maybe in your connection, there's somebody that was in that field that's always sharing something about it. Could just ask, but don't expect too much. Just ask. So like, okay, sometimes they may not respond, sometimes they will respond, but just keep an open mind and reach out. And then on your LinkedIn, I do that as well. Like sometimes if I write on something, I'll just like post about it on my LinkedIn. I'll have a lot of profile views and all of that. Like, who is this person that's sharing this? What does she? People will just start reaching out to you without like you even doing much. You don't have to be the one reaching out to them. Once you are like always like talking about something you are working on, maybe you just do that project and post about it. The result might not be immediate, but people are looking, people are watching you, people are saying it, right? So that could be something we are actually very unfortunate, let me just use that word, because you're very unfortunate when it comes to cloud, because cloud in Nigeria is still not very, like Chegun said, the roles haven't really developed as much. It is still starting up. It hasn't picked up yet. if you're a DevOps engineer, a data engineer in Nigeria, sorry, there is still a long way for us to like go. Because me, I'm having that same issue as well. But once you leave this country, say you are in Canada or you are in the US, there are a lot of cloud roles because they're beginning to embrace cloud. Most of the companies are migrating to cloud, right? Yeah, so that's what I have to say. Unfortunately,
Yeah, so
you just have to like keep on like. Check it, you want
yes,
something?
yeah, so I would contribute to what Amara just mentioned now. Like in some field, take for example, even the one Amara is presently is a cloud engineer and cloud data engineer. So there are some things that she will be deprived some opportunity of in Nigeria. Because when it comes to data, some region, they don't want their data to be spread across different regions. They don't want their data to be out, so they want you to maintain the same region data in the same. So when it comes to data, everybody is being careful when it comes to different things attached to it. So in that kind of stuff, even data scientists to a set, maybe you're just building machine learning, or it depends on what you're working with, like I said. So when it comes to data, they are very skeptical about it. So if you are not in that region, you might find it so hard to, to work with some, data, excuse me, or something that is relating to the data if you are in that kind of field. And some other field too, it's very important you have access. So that's why I say maybe if you're not in that location, it might be difficult. But most of this, when it comes to developer, there's no restriction. You can work remotely. And in Nigeria too, the cloud is just developing. And opportunities start to come up. Like me and a friend, we are working on something in which we hope that is going to open up a lot of opportunity for people in Nigeria and Africa. It also is a cloud native community. So we actually want to work and build up a sustainable solutions that can help our community in that field. But then we keep trying. For example, I was in last year, I was in AWS Summit in Stockholm in Sweden. So I was there live, and then we talk about one of the like 5 top companies in let's say in the Northern Europe, how they develop like 100, I can remember 120%. They migrated late 2020. So between late 2020 and 2021, let's say late 2020, like December, very late, between that time and 2022, that's a year and some months, they increased their revenue by 120%. They reduced their productivity. A lot of things increased by. So 5 of them came and talked about how they embrace AWS and it's really helped them. So, like according to the projection, more than 80% of companies have not yet migrated to the cloud. Now, it's just few that are migrated to the cloud, and you see a lot of opportunities that are available. Now, imagine that 50% of companies is migrating to the cloud. We have a lot of unlimited opportunities. So that's why we have to be prepared for that opportunity, although it's not yet around, but we know what, just have to get prepared for it. When it comes, then we can able to work, get ready for it. But there are a lot of opportunities internationally, like she said. So some we can do remotely, some might not do remotely based on data and some other things that are attached to it. But the thing is, we keep preparing for opportunity. One day we get lucky. I think someone wants to say something earlier. Do you still have more questions? Okay, if you don't have, let me just stop the recording.